Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. And again, we are back working on the BMW N47 engine, and today I have something a little bit different. So if you saw one of my previous videos where I talked about the problem that I actually had, now the problem was with the intake manifold. So at the front of the intake manifold where it meets the swirl flap actuator, there was actually a leak. It was causing a boost leak. Now, I came across this because I noticed a lot of oil and soot around the area. Now, you shouldn't really be getting oil and soot on the outside of your intake manifold. Now, on the inside of your intake manifold, it's perfectly normal because obviously you get this soot from the EGR, from the exhaust gas recirculation, and then you get the oil from the crankcase ventilation system. So it's perfectly normal to have that on the inside of your intake manifold, but if you have that on the outside of your intake manifold, then obviously you have a leak. Now, it is a fairly common issue to have the leak at the front of the intake manifold, between the intake manifold and the actuator. It's one of those things where you cannot actually replace the seal. You can do the process of the swirl flap delete, which I've actually made a video showing you exactly how to do. But that's not what I want long term. I've talked about the kind of downsides of doing the swirl flap delete. You know, you lose the low down torque and you lose a little bit of MPG as well. So I've actually gone down another route, and I will actually be replacing the intake manifold completely. So right here I have a new BMW N47 intake manifold. I say new, it's refurbished. Now, this intake manifold has been reconditioned and actually reinforced as well. So the regular swirl flaps are actually made of plastic, but in this reinforced intake manifold, the swirl flaps are actually made out of aluminium. So if you take a look in here, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see, but you can see the swirl flaps themselves are actually red. Now let me see if I can rotate the swirl flaps. As you can see, there they are. Swirl flaps are actually red aluminium, and all of the bushes and the fixings have actually been replaced in here, and it's made for a better design, so there's less chance of the rod wearing and eventually failing. As you can see, the rod goes all the way through to the end as well, so there's no way of it coming loose. And yeah, essentially it's just an upgraded, uprated design, and you should not have swirl flap failure when it comes to this intake manifold. Now, if you are interested in purchasing your own reinforced intake manifold, then please do use the link in the description box below. I'm by no means sponsored. I had to pay full price for this thing, but using the link down below just goes your way to show your support for the channel. Now, not only am I installing this reinforced intake manifold, but I'm also making a little modification to it. So on the original intake manifold, you have the EGR pipe that goes through here. Obviously, you guys know I have my EGR already completely removed, so the pipe is pretty much redundant. You know, it doesn't serve any purpose at all. So I actually have this little blanking plate that will go over there, and means that we have slightly better airflow through the entire intake manifold. Okay, then without further ado, I think we'll get outside and get this thing installed, because I am pretty excited now. Okay then, so as you can see, we already have the original intake manifold removed. I have an entire video going through the whole process, so if you are interested, go and check that out. The entire process only takes around an hour to do. But here is the original intake manifold. I actually need to take a couple of parts off here. So the anti-shudder valve, and then there's a bracket on the top as well, which holds a few cables in place. And once they are removed, I can then transfer them over to the new intake manifold. Okay then, so I've got the two parts removed from the old intake manifold. So we have the anti-shudder valve, and then this is that bracket that I was talking about. So we need to reinstall both these onto the new manifold. And then we also have this blanking plate here as well, which is just secured by the two original EGR pipe screws. So let's get all this installed now. There we go then, that's that new bracket on. That's the anti-shudder valve in place. And that's the blanking plate installed. Okay then, so it's now time to install the new intake manifold. First thing I need to do is make sure that the anti-shudder valve is plugged in. Like so. And then I can slide it into position. Okay, so I have the new intake manifold seated. All 5 of the bolts line up, and now I've just got to torque them all down to 10 Newton meters. And now it's just going to be a case of plugging everything back in, pushing the charge pipe back on, and then plugging these connectors back into the ECU box. Damn, the heavens have really opened up. That was dodgy getting the ECU box back on. Damn, it's getting flooded in here. Jesus Christ. I'm glad I got that lid on when I did. Okay then, so I've just reinstalled the strut brace. Next thing I'm going to do is reinstall the scuttle panels. And the cabin air filter boxes can go back in as well. And now the 2 engine covers can go on. So there's this one here at the front. Held in by the 2 screws. And then the main engine cover itself can go back on. I did remember one more thing. I needed to reconnect the battery. There we go. Now it's a moment of truth to see if it fires up. Now then, if we do get any issues when it comes to firing it up for the first time, since, you know, plugging everything back in, We know that it can't be fuel related because, you know, we haven't disconnected any fuel lines. It's more than likely going to be a case of something being disconnected, but I guess, you know, enough talking. Let's just see how we get on. Okay, so we have power. We have the ignition on. Let's go for it. Fire straight up, which is good. I guess we'll go ahead and give it a rev. I think we need to take this for a test drive. Okay then, so just got back from a little test drive, and honestly it's made the world of difference. Now it seems like I have power much lower in the rev range. Like I have a good amount of torque after around 1200 RPM, and it seems that I can stay in a higher gear at a lower speed. For example, before, when I was going around 35 miles per hour or less, I had to be in like third gear or it would struggle. Now I can comfortably be in fourth gear, and you know, runs fine. It, you know, there's no sort of jerkiness when I'm under 1500 RPM, and the power seems a lot smoother. It seems to be a lot more gradual, and you know, I'm guessing we did have a slight boost leak, and I'm guessing that the swirl flaps probably wasn't working as they should, you know, because there was a little bit of play in the rod. So yeah, I'm just happy that that's sorted now. The car is now driving how it should from factory, and yeah, it's just so nice to have. You know, it's really frustrating when you have to rev it to like 2,000–3,000 RPM just to kind of get any real power. Now I can, you know, just shift at 1800 RPM, and obviously I'm going to be saving a lot of fuel as well. So yeah, honestly made the world of difference. You know, it was expensive, it wasn't cheap to do, but you know, that's life sometimes. If you want to, you know, get your car running to how it should from factory, and you don't want to lose your low down torque, and you know, you don't want to sacrifice your MPG, then you know, sometimes you do have to spend big money. But yeah, I hope this video has been somewhat helpful. I hope it's been you know, somewhat insightful. And yeah, if you are having problems, you know, if you are having a lack of power sort of below 2000 RPM before the turbo really kicks in, then you may have a swirl flap issue, or you may have a boost leak on the front of your intake manifold. So it is worth doing a little bit of investigating. But yeah, I want to thank all of you guys for watching. Please give this video a like, leave a comment down below, and remember, if you do want to purchase this intake manifold, please do it from the link in the description box below. I would greatly appreciate that. Subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace!